So we're going to dig into Deuteronomy here. The last 3 chapters of the Torah portions. We're done with the Torah portions. You believe that? We went a little longer than normal. They should have ended about 4 weeks ago, but we extended it out. And we're going to start a new series in 2 weeks. But this is it. This is the end of what we've been studying for a year. Over a year, we've been doing this. Can you believe that? Like over 1 year, you were showing me last night, you have all the books on your shelf, all of these Torah portion books, right? You've saved them all, right? So when we get back and we do them again, they'll be a little bit different on the next time. So let's dig into this. Let's just start, and we'll begin with Deuteronomy 31. There's a few things that I want to get into tonight, and hopefully we'll have some discussion about it. But 31 verses 1 and 2. Who wants to read verses 1 and 2 for me? Alex.
So Moses continued to speak these words to all Israel. And he said to them, I am 120 years old today. I am no longer able to go out and come in. The Lord has said to me, you shall not go over this Jordan.
120 years old. This dude is old, right? He's old. He's older than Captain Jack back here, right? He is old. So this guy, I am getting there. Who is Moses speaking to? What? The people of Israel. He's also speaking to Joshua, right? This is his last, one of his last speeches before he's about to pass away, before he's about to die. He's got to pass on some good wisdom here. Verse 6, he says what, Alex?
Be strong and courageous.
Be strong? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you.
So he's talking to the community. I'm telling you, be strong and courageous. I'm about to leave, but you have a mission still. You are still going to go forward. You have this land that you have to enter into, and I'm calling you all, I'm commanding you all, be strong and courageous. Do not fear. And then verse 7, he speaks directly to Joshua. What does he say?
Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and courageous, for you shall go with this people into the land that the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall put them in possession of it.
So he commands everybody, I'm calling all of you, be strong and courageous. Now I'm going to single out just Joshua. I'm telling you, Joshua, you are the next leader. Calling you, be strong and courageous. And then he continues on. He gives a few other commands, and a few other things. And then verse 23, he ends it with one more time. What does he say? Start at 22. Read 22. 22 and 23.
So Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the people of Israel. And the Lord commissioned Joshua the son of Nun and said, be strong and courageous, for you shall bring the people of Israel into the land that I swore to give them. I will be with you.
How many times does he tell or use this phrase, be strong and courageous? 3 times. 3 times he said this. Have we learned that if something is repeated 3 times, it's important? There's something that we're supposed to understand here. There's something we're supposed to pay attention to. This is a big deal. He says it to the community, he says it to Joshua, and then he reminds the community again, be strong and courageous. This is a big deal. Then he teaches them a song. He teaches them, here's what we're going to sing. You're going to learn this song, right? The worship people are like, yes, finally music. The interesting thing about music, right? The interesting thing about this is, well, before I get there, let's back up one more time. 3 times he tells them to be strong and courageous. Back up, Alex, and read verses 11 and 12 for me really quick.
When all Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God at the place that he will choose, you shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, men, women, and little ones, and sojourner with your towns, that they may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God and be careful to do all the words of this law.
Excellent. Does anybody have a different translation? Go ahead.
That was 11 and 12.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you must read this book of instructions to all the people of Israel when they assemble before the Lord your God at the place he chooses. Call them all together, men, women, children, and the foreigners living in your towns, so they may hear this book of instruction and learn to fear the Lord your God and carefully obey all the terms of these instructions.
Another translation? Don, did you bring your translation? Is it a little bit different?
11 says, when all Israel have come to appear in the presence of Adonai at the place he will choose, you are to read this Torah before all Israel, so that they can hear it. Assemble the people, the men, the women, the little ones, and the foreigners you have in your town, so that they can hear, learn, fear Adonai your God, and take care to obey all the words of this Torah.
Interesting. So, who is this Torah for? Who is this reading for? What? Define everyone. What do you mean by everyone?
The women, the men, the children, and the foreigners.
And the foreigners, and the sojourners, the people who are not Jewish, the people who are not a part of your community, anybody that is a foreigner that enters into your community, this is for them. This is for everyone, right? This is for everyone. And there was a word at the end here, which I didn't know if your translation said or not. The very last sentence, it says, so that they hear and so that they learn to fear Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, your Elohim, to guard and to do all the words of this Torah. To guard. Did any of yours have to guard? To guard, to do. To obey you had. What was yours, Alex? You remember? To be careful. What was yours? Mine says, and guard. And guard to do all the words of this Torah.
How come I have the same book and you have different words?
Because we tricked you and we gave you a different. I don't think that's the same one. That isn't that's a different Bible you have right there. Yeah. So he's so holy back there. You just memorize it. So to guard, to obey, to do. The word there is samar. And you've heard me talk about this word before, but I wanted to bring it back up again because it is so important. We've seen it over and over and over. Samar means to guard, to take heed, to care of, to observe, to treasure, to protect. I am giving you this word to guard it, to take heed of it, to take care of it, to observe it, to treasure this word. This is what I want from you. As we look at this, I was asking myself the question, what's the point of this? What is Moses trying to get across? Read this stuff. Tell everybody about it. Is he saying, I want all these people to read the text? That's what's important. Is the point that I want more textbook readers? Or is the point was to have more text people? The point is to read this, to put it on my heart, to know it so much that I protect it and that I live it out every single day. I'm supposed to be the text that you read every single day. That's the point of what he's saying here. Don't just be readers. It goes beyond that. Then Moses teaches this song. And when I found, I was going to go through some of the song, but it's too much. I know, these vulnerable music people. No. I'm talking about their feelings in music, right? No. There's some really great stuff in here, and the vulnerability aspect is important. But what I found fascinating about this is that in a Torah observant community, all of the Torah is sung, not just this one song. You sing the words of Torah in Hebrew. You don't read them. You don't recite them. You sing them. It's put to melody. And when you put it to melody, how many people can remember songs from the 80s, right? They just pop off your head, right? Somehow we have this memory connected to music. But we struggle with memorizing verses of the Bible. Yet the Hebrew community, Jewish community, they have the whole thing memorized most of the time. It's because they sing it every day. They read these Torah portions every day, every year, in song, in lyrics. They sing this stuff. He teaches them this song, and just before he goes up to the mountain, Alex, once again, chapter 32, right after he teaches this song, he gives one more time a little bit more instruction, verses 44 through 47, please.
Moses came and recited all the words of this song in hearing of the people, he and Joshua the son of Nun. When Moses had finished speaking all the words to all Israel, he said to them, "Take heart all the words by which I am warning you today, that you may command them to your children, and they may be careful to do all the words of the law. For it is no empty word for you, but your very life. And by your word you shall live long in the land that you are going over the Jordan to possess."
Once again in 46, set your heart on all the words with which I warn you today, so that you command your children to samar, guard, to do. And this is my translation doesn't make sense in English. It says to guard, to do all the words of Torah. It's not very structurally sound. To guard, to do. But this is the idea of samar. You want to protect this so much that you observe it, that you heed it, that you do this stuff. It's who I am. I want you to, I really want you to think about that for a minute. I want you to underline that, write that down. Whatever your translation says, obey, or whatever it says, circle that word and put down samar so that you remember. Samar is more than just, what? It's holy, that paper, I tell you. As I thought about this for a while, I went to another story that kind of emphasized a lot of this for me. This people of the book. And a few chapters after Moses, we get to the book of Joshua. And Joshua is to take these people into the promised land. He's been commissioned by Moses. This is your job. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear. Do not be afraid. Your job is to take these people across the river and into the land of Israel. And a conquest, basically. And so Moses passes this on to the people. And Joshua chapter 3 is where I'm going to pick up here. Joshua chapter 3, verse 7 is where Joshua is now in command. Verse 7 says, "And Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh said to Yehoshua, 'This day I begin to make you great before all the eyes of Israel.'" This day, God is going to start using Moses. And once again, who are these people that Joshua is now commanding? They're not just all the people of Israel. Who are they? Think about this. Where did they come from? They did not come from Egypt. They were born in the desert. Did any of these people see any of the miracles of Moses except for Joshua and Caleb? Those two guys who are probably 100? Did any of these people who are hearing these stories, did any of them witness any of the things that took place in Egypt? Not a single one. Remember, they're all dead. And so here now is Joshua saying to these people, our job is to cross over this river. Our job is to move and take this land. But we have to cross this river first. They heard the stories. But Joshua now says, we have to cross this river, and when we walk in, the water will stop. Imagine me saying, all right, guys, we have to go to the West Bank, and we're going to cross the Mississippi River. That river right there, yeah? It's overflowing. And when Joshua's at the river, the Jordan is at its peak. It's overflowing. It's high. The water is moving rapidly. If you've seen the Mississippi River, you've seen how dangerous it is. And he goes up to this, we're going to cross this, and God is going to stop the water. And at that point, the people are thinking, what?
You're nuts.
Maybe. What are they feeling? Really? Are you kidding me?
Not strong and courageous.
Maybe. But Joshua says, don't worry. I'm going to send Aaron and Bruce and Lindley. They're going to go first. They're going to carry this ark on them, and they're going to go before us. And they will demonstrate the power of the Lord. And so literally, they pick up the ark, and it says in verse, 13? And it shall be, Joshua says this, and this is what's going to happen, guys. As soon as the soles of the feet of the priests who bear the ark of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the master of all the earth, come to rest on the waters of the Jordan, that the waters of the Jordan are cut off, the waters that come down from upstream and stand as a heap. Don't worry. When they get to the water, they're going to walk in and everything's going to stop. So literally, they're carrying the ark, and they have to literally, the water's flowing like that. And the moment that they step in, they don't know what they're stepping into, but the moment that they step in, the water's going to stop. Literally. These people are going to take a literal step of faith. Who's going to do this? What was the command of Moses? Be strong and courageous. Do not fear. Here are the priests who know this, who have heard this, who have heard the stories from their father passed down to them. And here's what happened. And here the word of God saying, be strong and courageous. And they literally have to take this leap of faith. And they do. The streams of the waters which came down from upstream stood still, and they rose as a heap far away from where they were, in the city of something or other. And the people passed over the Jordan on dry ground, it says. But then this is what I really wanted to read. I wanted to set up and give the context for these next few passages. Alex, verses 1 through 7 on chapter 4. It's a little long, but it's good.
When all the nation had finished passing over the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, take 12 men from the people, from each tribe a man, and command them, saying, take 12 stones from here out of the midst of the Jordan, from the very place where the priest's feet stood firmly, and bring them over with you, and lay them down in the place where you lodge tonight. Then Joshua called 12 men from the people of Israel, who he had appointed, a man from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, Pass on before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan, and take up each of you a stone under his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the people of Israel, that this may be a sign among you. When your children ask in time to come, what do those stones mean to you? Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever.
Good. These stones, they're to pick up stones. This is very common in the ancient Near Eastern culture, and you see it everywhere. They're called I think it's stelae, or stella, is what they're called. I think I got a picture of one right here. They're stones that literally you make carvings or you make writings in, and you do these things. And so the 12 tribes of Israel are to send one person back and create a stone, right? Bring these stones back to do what? What's the purpose of the stone? It's a memorial to remember where I've come from and where I am going, so that I'll never forget these things. The stones are to tell the story and to bear a testimony of what God has done in my life. Did you catch that? The stones are to tell a story and to bear testimony to what God has done in my life. Stones. As the building was flooded and we were pulling stuff out, there were a few things in my office that I had to get. And they weren't books or computers or anything like that. There were things that people, when they come into my office, they're like, why do you have this junk in here? It's because this junk isn't junk to me. For me, these things are my stones, my standing stones. I have this 2-iron, not because I play golf or because I use it to play golf. But when we first moved here, we lived in a classroom in the back of a church, and we had thousands of volunteers that came through, and we had many sleepless nights because we had rats that were all throughout the house. And Aaron would wake up in the middle of the night because they would paratroop down from the roof and like into his bedroom, and for days he could not sleep. And this was that reminder that began like a teaching for me, that I opened up the pantry one day, and after a long day, and there were rats, 10, 12 rats in my pantry, everywhere. And I'll never forget, I was literally like trying to stop them as they were scurrying through the kitchen, and I stepped on one, and I had another one here, and one was trying to they were both trying to bite my shoe, and I said, Andrea, grab me that stick. I just found this the other day. She handed it to me. and I smashed it. But I keep it not because of the story of the rats, but because of the story that it reminds me of where I came from. That we had to live in a place that was, everything was destroyed and everything was stunk and everything was horrible. And Inez will tell you it smelled like 11 elephants came and crapped in her house, right? That was what we lived with every day. And in all of that, there was still hope that we could make something out of it. And all of that, rats and mold, there was hope of restoration. And so I keep this 2-iron to remind me of hope. And then I have a stick. Literally, it's a stick. But my professor, when I got my master's, he gave this to me. And I'll never forget it because I spent years learning and reading and studying the text and studying the Hebrew and studying all of these things. And the last thing that I got from the school, besides a piece of paper, was this dang walking stick. But it's reminded me that the purpose of all of that study wasn't to know it, wasn't to recite it, but to walk it. I don't read this stuff so that I can just play good on Jeopardy. I read it so that I can live it in my everyday life. And then right around that same time frame, Aaron got me this for my birthday. I think it was a bat that he already had, but he gave it to me because he had got a new machine where he could, what is it called? Wood burn engraving. And he put Rabbi Matt on here right about the time I was getting my master's. And I hold this in my office and I never get rid of it because it reminds me daily of the responsibility that I have with this idea of the role that I have. It's not just a title. It is a responsibility that I carry, and it's a stone that keeps me in my office, moving forward. And then the last thing that nobody gets is this stick, right? This ugly stick. What in the world is this? I was at Crossroads, and one of the volunteers came home after gutting out a house, and she said, yeah, she met a man, and he was trapped in his attic. And he has a phenomenal story, but you got to hear it. And he's coming to dinner tonight. So we met with him, and he shared the story. He said, yeah, I was in my attic. The water came up so fast that I had literally just minutes to get up in my attic. I had no way to get anything. I was just barely able to get up there. But the water kept rising, and it was in the attic. And all I could think of was, how do I get out? And I, by the grace of God, I found a way. I got out. I found a stick, and I did some things with it, and I got out. I was like amazed that as he's telling me this story, that he was able to find out, poke a hole in the roof, and get out through the roof. I went to his house the next day because I just wanted to see the hole. I was amazed. Like, how did you crawl through this hole? What did you do? And so all the drywall's down, the rafters are done. And so I was looking up into the attic. I could see the hole in the attic, and then I saw this thing shining. And it's like the light was hitting it. And so I jumped up to the rafters, and I pulled myself up. And right there at the rafters was this stick. So I grabbed it. And I realized this stick that has a screw on it with some tape wrapped around it was the thing that he used to poke into the roof to save his life. And it was at this moment that I realized this man chose life. Instead of quitting or giving up or succumbing to what was about to happen, he didn't say, well, I guess it is what it is. This stone reminds me to never give up, ever, even when it seems like the end is upon me. Joshua 1. Don, I want you to read Joshua 1 from your translation, please. There's only 7 verses. So read, Actually, there's more than 7. There's 18 verses, but I want you to, it's short. Can you read the whole thing for me?
After the death of Moses, the servant of Adonai, Adonai said to Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. So now you get up and cross over this Jordan, you and all the people to the land I'm giving to them, the people of Israel. I'm giving you every place you will step on with the sole of your foot, as I said to Moses. All the land from the desert and I don't know how to say all the word, Lebanon. What is that in English? Lebanon. To the great river, the Euphrates River. All the land of Hittite and on to the great sea in the west will be your territory. No one will be able to withstand you as long as you live. Just as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will neither fail you nor abandon you. Be strong, be bold, for you will cause this people to inherit the land I swore to their fathers I would give them. Only be strong and very bold in taking care to follow all the Torah which Moses my servant ordered you to follow. Do not turn from it either to the right or to the left. Then you will succeed wherever you go. Yes, keep this book of the Torah on your lips and meditate on it day and night, so that you will take care to act according to everything written in it. Then your undertakings will prosper and you will succeed. Haven't I ordered you? Be strong, be bold. So don't be afraid or downhearted, because Adonai your God is with you wherever you go. Joshua instructed the officials of the people to go through the camp and order the people, prepare provisions, because in 3 days you will cross the Jordan to go in and take possession of the land Adonai your God is giving you. To the
Reubenites.
the Gadi, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, son Joshua said, remember what Moses, the servant of Adonai, ordered you. Adonai your God has let you rest and will give you this land. Your wives, your little ones, and your livestock will stay in the land Moses gave you on the east side of the Jordan, but you are to cross over armed as a fighting force ahead of your brothers to help them, until Adonai allows your brothers to rest, as he has allowed you. And they, too, have taken possession of the land Adonai your God is giving them. At that point, you will return to the land which is yours and possess it, the land Moses, the servant of Adonai, gave you in ever hardened to the east toward the sunrise. They answered Joshua, we will do everything you have ordered us to do, and we will go wherever you send us. Just as we listened to everything Moses said, so we will listen to you. Only may Adonai your God be with you as he was with Moses. If anyone rebels against your order and doesn't heed what you say in every detail of your order, he will be put to death. Just be strong, be bold.
Moses tells the people, be strong and courageous. Joshua tells the people, be strong and courageous. And now at the very end of this passage, it says what? The people say back to Joshua, Joshua, you be strong and courageous, and do not fear. As I thought about this story, I was trying to look at the bigger picture. What is the one thing that we are trying to pull away, should we pull away from this Joshua story, this conquest literature? As I was looking at this, those three things appeared. Moses says, be strong and courageous. Joshua says, be strong and courageous. But the odd thing about this, the awesome thing about this, the people who followed these two people said back to the leaders, be strong and courageous. What's happening here? There's this unity that comes together where the people don't just hear the command, they also feel it and they say, we are with you. And if anybody doesn't follow you, we're going to take care of them. But we are with you. You have told us to be strong and courageous, so we're now saying back to you, be strong and courageous because we are in this together. Because we believe that if we are united, if we are one, and we together are strong and bold and courageous and are not fearful, God will do anything through us. That if we are united, that miracles can happen when we are united as one people. The Hebrew here, which I found fascinating and isn't necessarily consequential, but it's just hazek va'ametz. Hazek va'ametz, be strong and courageous. Hazek va'ametz was on the lips of these people. Be strong and courageous. As I looked at this and I pondered about this, I wondered, does my life tell a story? Does it bear witness to what God has done in my life? Moses said the only way that this really happens is if you go back to what he said at the end, right after the song and before his passing. What did he say in verse 46, 32, 46? Take to heart all the words which I am warning you today, that you may command them to your children, that they may be careful to do all the words of this law, to samar all the words of the law, for it is no empty words for you, but it's your very life. It's your life, he says. Do we believe that these words are life? Am I willing to samar, to protect, to treasure, to live out, to do these words in my everyday life? Because sometimes we live in a world where it takes hazek va'ametz to do so. Sometimes we live in a world, in a place where people do not appreciate this, where people do not believe in this, where people think that you're a fool or an idiot because you believe in such a thing. And it's in those times where you need hazek va'ametz. Not alone, though. You can do it because you know that you are in community that lives united in doing this. There's a clip that I wanted to show. Hopefully it will play with audio. I wanted to show this. Oh. Volume? Oh, start over. Do it again.
I was once destined to become a man much like yourself, true-hearted, determined, full of purpose. But character is easier kept than recovered. We cannot control the things life does to us. They are done before you know it. And once they are done, they make you do other things. Until at last everything comes between you and the man you wanted to be.
Character is easier kept than recovered. Life happens. Choices that we make every day determine what that character is. The standing stone that we leave behind is built on that character, those decisions, those choices we make every single day. Are we text people? Are these words on our heart for people to read? Do they represent what God has done in my life, in your life? Where have I been and where am I going? Hazek va'ametz. Community, may we be strong and courageous and not fear. And may these words exude from our pores for people to see and taste and smell. Amen.